Hey guys, this is Mike and you're listening to Feeling Twisty. So how's it going today? I want to talk about, a number of things. Persistence, assumption, surrender. I'm not sure what to call this episode. Maybe I'll just call it episode 73. Of course, if you're listening to this, you already know what I've titled it. But I started reading, I haven't read Neville Goddard's The Power of Awareness in a while. And yesterday I had the urge to pick it up and read it again. And I love how anytime I read something like that, I see things that I didn't catch before. I understand something in a different way. I always get one of those, oh yeah, I see that. Something a little different. I enjoy that. And of course, I expect that, to get something good from when I read one of his books or when I'm looking at someone else's YouTube channel that's teaching. They're going from, teaching their experiences of the power of imagination. So anyway, I must just start with the first quote from The Power of Awareness. The clue to the real purpose of life is to surrender yourself to your ideal with such awareness of its reality that you begin to live the life of the ideal and no longer your own life as it was prior to this surrender. I love that word, surrender. For me, when I even contemplate surrender, it takes the force out of it, takes the effort out of it for me. And just kind of the feeling of, my shoulders relax, my neck relaxes. You just surrender to it, to whatever this new state of being is in which you're dwelling. And for a while, there are some things that I imagined were harder to surrender to than others. I imagined some things were easy and some things were hard. Maybe you've experienced that where, I can, manifest a free lunch or a cup of coffee, but I can't manifest a good job or happiness. It's all what we imagine. For me, I imagine some things are easier because they seem small or not completely attached to me. I imagine they're not connected to me at all. And then other things that I imagine are completely attached to me and in my face and hard to surrender to this new state, that it's taken care of, that it's done. It's all in our perception. We perceive some things are easier. You wouldn't think me getting out of a wheelchair for good. You would think that would be, some might see that as difficult. Health and well-being being difficult. That was seemingly easy, while other things for me were not so easy. And it's all because of how I perceived it. And it really comes down to what Neville talks about in this book, and he talks about it all the time, but the naturalness, how natural this new state of being is to you. And maybe that's what I'll call this episode, naturalness. So let me give an example of what was relatively easy for me. This is from a couple of years ago. Well, my son was in an accident, a car accident. Not the one son that I've talked about before, the motorcycle accident. This is a different son. That was in a very minor vehicle accident. And really minor. You can't even really see the damage, couldn't see the damage on the truck he was in. And so, it's done. It wasn't his fault. No real damages. And then a number of months later, we get a letter from the lawyer for the insurance company saying he's being sued along with the insurance company for all kinds of damages and medical bills. It was crazy. All this money they were asking for, our policy limits on the insurance. And it was a surprising amount of money they were asking for. So anyway, I didn't discuss it with him. I did tell him everything's going to work out. Don't stress over it. I imagined getting a letter from the lawyer and seeing that the case was dismissed, that everything's fine. Specifically, though, I just imagined holding the letter in my hand that is dismissed. So months go by, and we get notice that there's a deposition coming. It's probably a year or so goes by that he has to go in for a deposition. He's stressed out, tell him not to worry, everything's going to be fine. And I just maintained that feeling that I'd done a year or so before that it's done. Everything's fine. This is not going to be a bad thing. Deposition goes through. They're still pursuing the case. Still maintaining. It's done. This case is dismissed. And then we get a letter from the lawyer saying he's going to, I don't know what you call it. You go to court and ask the judge to dismiss the case. So I thought, okay, that's nice. That's good. I like seeing that, but I still maintained that it's done. Well, we got a letter back from the lawyer saying the judge didn't do it. It's not being dismissed. It's going to court. So now there had to be a trial. And my son was stressing out, worried about it. A couple of years have passed now since the accident. I tell him, don't worry. It's going to be fine. And I maintain that same feeling that I had 2 years prior, that this case is dismissed. It's done. It's in my son's favor. Goes to court and the jury trial and all that. Anyway, turns out the case was dismissed, or at least my son was found not at fault for it. And there were no damages had to be paid. The case was over and he won. So that was relatively easy for me. And you might think of things that you've imagined, that you've done and you've seen manifest in your life that were easy. Oh, that was easy. And then you might be thinking of things that are difficult. But why can't I do this? If I can do that, why can't I fix this? Well, for me, and from what Neville says, and I totally get this, that it really comes down to staying in that state, imagining bringing up those feelings in imagination that your wish is fulfilled, this new state of being that you've imagined, this new person you want to be, these new things you want to experience. Whether you've created an imaginal scene or you've just asked yourself, how would I feel? What would it feel like to be prosperous? What would it feel like to thrive? I mean, thrive. Thrive means to prosper and to flourish. And for me, that's kind of covers everything. If I'm prospering and I'm flourishing, I'm vibrant, I'm alive, I've got good health, and my finances are great, my relationships are great, I'm thriving. I like that word. What would I feel like if I were thriving? If I am thriving? It just kind of brings up a powerful feeling, a wonderful feeling for me. I like that word. Whatever it is for you, what would I feel like if I were that now? But then you notice time goes by and you think you're persisting. Oh no, I've done it. And then when I go to sleep at night, I usually go to sleep in that feeling, and sometimes I'll bring that feeling back up a couple of times a day. Why isn't it working? Well, for me, it's because I wasn't truly surrendering to it. I was still forcing it, still trying to figure out what I need to do. I need to do something. I need to do. And that's just a bunch of doo-doo. When you're truly in and have surrendered to this new state of being, to your wish fulfilled, whether it be love or financial or whatever, the doing, if there's anything to do or to be done to you or for you, happens. And everything, it just happens. It's not something that you have to decide, okay, this must be something I have to do. For me, when I'm having confusion over a decision or frustration over doing something, well, that's a clear sign I'm not dwelling. I'm not really filling my consciousness with that feeling that it's done. And I'm not talking about just a couple of times a day. I'm talking about saturating my self with the feeling of it being done. Truly saturating my imagination with it throughout the day. an ongoing persistence. Like Neville says, to persist. And one of the definitions, the second definition in the dictionary I looked up, persist means continue to exist. So it's not hard. It's not force in a battle. I continue to exist in this new state of being, this wish fulfilled, this wonderful new thing. Surrender to it. Neville also says in Power of Awareness that every moment of your life, consciously or unconsciously, you are assuming a feeling. You can no more avoid assuming a feeling than you can avoid eating and drinking or breathing. I added breathing. It's the same thing in this book. In that quote, he's calling it assuming a feeling, but it's also your inner conversation, your inner talk. What's going on? What are you thinking and feeling habitually throughout the day? Where's your mind going? What are you dwelling on? Does it feel good? Well, if it doesn't feel good, that's a clear sign to me that I'm not surrendering to this new state. I'm not saturating my consciousness with this new state of being. I may be thinking of it. I know I imagined it. Oh yeah, I'm thinking of it. But if I'm stressed or worried or frustrated or indecisive or confused, I'm not living in it or thinking from it. I'm not being it. I'm completely thinking of it. I'm aware it's there. I know what I want, but I'm not living it. I'm still wanting it. And if I'm wanting it, I'm not being it. I'm not having it. I am not it. I saw a video today. I forgot. I can't pronounce his last name. His name's Eric. He's in a couple of Facebook groups I'm in. And he had a really cool, really short video about that. When you move from the I want to the I am. Oh, I love that. And when I'm confused and frustrated and indecisive or sick to my stomach or my chest hurts or I cringe when my daughter texts me that she needs a new scientific calculator, my reactions to that, how I'm reacting to that tells me immediately if I am still at the I want phase or state or if I moved into the I am, the knowing. There's a difference. It's a beautiful, lovely, subtle, sexy difference. And I love it. That feeling of moving into it and inhabiting that new state. I am that. I thrive. I am love. If I was a preacher, I'd be dancing up on stage right now, moving back and forth and getting the crowd going. Can I get an amen? I feel like strutting around here. I can't with the microphone hooked up, but it just gets me going. I love talking about it and feeling, that movement, that shift from wanting to being. Oh, I am. Neville talks about the imagery in the Bible, how Moses changes Joseph's name, or Hosea, which is Joseph, to Joshua. And Joshua is the same name as Jesus. Jehovah saves. I am salvation. The I am saves. My awareness of being is my Savior. And then he brings it into the New Testament, how Joseph in the New Testament falls asleep and dreams, just like the Joseph in the Old Testament, the dreamer. And when the dreamer awakens, that's us. You are the dreamer and I am the dreamer. We awaken to the Jesus Christ within us, the awakened man, the power and the wisdom of God. Oh, it's beautiful. I love the imagery that Neville pulls out of the Bible. But you don't need the Bible to understand this, to get this. It's within you. You don't need me. What are you doing? Turn me off. Get into your imagination and play. What do you want to experience tonight? What do you want to be tomorrow? The secret of thinking from the end is to enjoy being it. That's another quote from The Power of Awareness. The secret of thinking from the end is to enjoy being it. When you really get into it and you move in imagination, you bring up that feeling. You assume the feeling of it done. Doesn't that feel good? And you saturate yourself with that feeling. Yeah, it feels good. Don't you enjoy it? Well, enjoying it and loving it, you fall in love with that feeling of being that. And you move from thinking of it, of wishing you had it. Oh, tomorrow maybe. No, make it right now. You're not imagining this to make it happen next week. You're imagining this to be it right now. You be it right now at this moment. Time is something how we decipher what's going on, how we understand things so we can put it in order, so we can digest it. Forget that. Forget the timetable, what the calendar says. Let go of impatience and stress. Don't try to imagine something to fix it for next week. No, fix it right now. Be the solution. Let that Jesus Christ awaken within you, the wisdom and the power of God. Awaken within you and be the new person. Be the solution to whatever problem you think you have. Be the wish fulfilled. That's what God's name is. I exist. In Him we live and move and have our being. In the I am. In I am awareness. We live, we have our beingness. Within the awareness, we have our awareness of being. What are we aware of being? What are we conscious of experiencing? Oh, yes. And that maintained attitude, this is another quote from The Power of Awareness, that maintained attitude that gets you there so that you think from your wish fulfilled instead of thinking about your wish is aided. Can you hear my stomach growling? If I can hear it, I'm sure you can. I apologize for that. I'm hungry. Let me start that quote over. And that maintained attitude that gets you there is so... Now I'm thinking about food. Let me start that over again. And that maintained attitude that gets you there so that you think from your wish fulfilled instead of thinking about your wish is aided by assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled frequently. It is the frequency, not the length of time, that makes it natural. That to which you constantly return constitutes your truest self. Frequent occupancy of the feeling of the wish fulfilled is the secret of success, and along with the frequency is the naturalness. With frequency, naturalness comes right along. You can't get to the naturalness. To get to naturalness comes the frequency. So throughout the day, even if you're not feeling confused or drained or worrying, when you check yourself, what am I thinking right now? Even if you're not feeling bad or thinking negative thoughts, still just check your state. And just enjoy the feeling of the wish fulfilled, even if you're already dwelling in it. Nothing wrong with dwelling in it intentionally, going back in and just slathering yourself with that feeling of the wish fulfilled. Enjoy it, savor it, love it. Continually. And I used to be so lazy-minded in the beginning of all this. I didn't want to do it. That was work to me. Oh, it's too hard. That's too much effort. Because I was making it an effort. I was making it hard. It's not hard. When you actually feel that feeling of your wish fulfilled, you feel it and you know it. You feel it within the depths of your being, that you are it, then it's fun. It's enjoyable to continually dwell in that. Saturate yourself with that feeling throughout the day, frequently, all the time. Anytime you're thinking about it, as I'm driving around, as I was at the body shop today, or at the rental car company, as I'm picking up my daughter from school, everything, just looking around, enjoying the feeling of my wish fulfilled, seeing the world, hearing the birds singing, feeling the rain hit my face from this new perspective. Intentionally, consciously living and dwelling in this new state. And the more you do it, and you're not doing it, I used to do it, and I was, getting back into state, but still seeing it as something that's coming. Oh, I got to do this to get to that. No, make it right now, in this very moment. Not the next minute, right this moment, this second, this nanosecond. Expand that nanosecond out into infinity and dwell in this nanosecond. And let that feeling, that joy, that passionate, wonderful feeling of your wish fulfilled, just, oh God, it's a wonderful feeling, isn't it? Time does not exist. You can expand a nanosecond out to infinity. I used to do that. I would imagine a second, a minute. Okay, how am I feeling this minute? Let me stretch that, expand that out. What am I feeling this second? Let me pull that second apart. Down to the smallest little part of a second I could imagine, and dwell my whole being in that little minute nanosecond. And let love and joy and peace saturate myself with that. Let me be that. And then I would go from that, imagine expanding to where then all of the nanoseconds that ever existed are within my own being, and feel myself expand and go back to this fraction of a second, this little nanosecond. And then bring it back out, expand my awareness to where I encompass all of it. Try it tonight. Try it in your house or wherever you are. Imagine yourself being aware of your body in your car or in your office or in your house. Now imagine expanding to where you are your car, aware of yourself, your body within the car. I know it might sound weird at first, but try it. Make yourself aware of the house. You're aware of being the entire house. And now you're aware of the people inside the house, moving inside you. It's a great way to practice moving in imagination and expanding your awareness. Okay, I think I've covered a lot. I went all over the place. Frequency, persistency. Who do you want to be tonight? What do you want to experience? Shoot me some emails. Let me know how you're doing. Questions? I like those too. Things you want me to talk about on here? I love that. What's my email address? feelingtwisty@gmail.com. Find me on Instagram @feelingtwisty, Facebook. I love you guys. This is Feeling Twisty.